to be able to help people kind of like discern the difference and figure out like, hey, I wonder if your experience is similar to mine and if what you're feeling is really spirit energy trying to come through. Because now I have
Mm.
my whole thing where I still will get these episodes, I guess you can call them. I call them the two world feeling.
Mm.
And I have done experiments on them. I worked with someone who had helped me also kind of like every time that it would happen, he would go and he would help me kind of discern like, well, what's coming up. So he would do little tests of like, like hold objects in his hand and like hide them and say, like what color is it? What object is it? He would write things down on a piece of paper and not show me the paper, and I would be able to say what, exactly what I was seeing, all of that. And I've noticed too, spirit tends to come through. And
This is the Casual Temple Podcast, and you are listening to episode number 6, and I'm your host, Merrily Duffy. The Casual Temple is a place to discuss the many ways we are connected to the unseen world and how that empowers us to know our true selves. On the Casual Temple, we will hear from everyday people discussing their magical practices, psychic phenomena, energy healing, as well as hear about their amazing, mystical, and paranormal experiences. This week, my guest is Tiffany Reeds, who joins the podcast to talk about her journey to becoming an internationally renowned psychic medium and angelic channel. We dive into how her practice assists her clients, who her favorite mediums are, if the Ouija board is a good psychic tool, and her experience with the angel Lucifer. Yes, that Lucifer, which you definitely don't want to miss. Well, thank you all for joining us here at Casual Temple. Our guest today is Tiffany Reeds, who is an internationally renowned psychic medium and angelic channel. She is a certified UCI Reiki master and uses her trance mediumship as a paranormal investigator of haunted locations. Full disclosure, I am a client of Tiffany's, and she is a wonderful energy healer, and her work has helped me personally in so many ways, and physical, emotional, and has also assisted me on the spiritual path I am on now. That's Tiffany. Welcome to the show.
thank you for having me. I'm like melting as you're talking. Literally,
Oh,
you are the best. You are the best.
oh, no, you're the best. Oh, it's going to be a love fest. I can tell.
I'm excited.
Um,
Sure.
let's see. Okay, just to kind of jump into it. Um, so, what would you say is your earliest memory of a personal spiritual experience that you can recall?
Probably when I was 7 years old, and I ended up having a little girl, who had like long dark hair and this like white, like horizontal striped t-shirt on. And she was at the edge of my bedside. And instead of being startled, I decide to put my hand as if I'm going to touch her, and it goes through her. And then that's when it kind of was like, because then she just disappeared. And immediately I'm like calling my parents and I'm freaking out because I'm like, what the heck was that?
Mm-hmm.
But the interesting part about that is that my brother's wife, actually, before she even, had been with my brother, even heard this story, she had talked about how she had a dream about our house. And there was a little girl with long dark hair and like a white striped t-shirt.
Whoa.
And I was like, that's really weird. And then fast forward to my now fiance, who said that he saw a girl very similar when we were sleeping side by side with one another, and he was just like, it really spooked me. And I was like, I'm actually honored because she doesn't show herself to everyone, and I really feel that this spirit in particular is not only very picky, but I feel like she's just misunderstood. And I feel, it's just a special relationship I feel like I have with her. So I'm honored that, she gives people glimpses of her. So yeah, for sure. That was my very first experience, and definitely um took me by surprise because, as a child, you're awake. I was fully awake. I wasn't in sleep paralysis or anything. It was just literally, I see this little girl standing by my bed, and
Mm-hmm.
she wasn't she wasn't able to be in that physical form where I could touch her, and
Mhm.
that was terrifying at
Yeah,
7 years old. So yeah.
for sure. So is she like, it sounds like she's a spirit that's still kind of with you and around?
Absolutely. I
Mm,
for sure think that she's more so attached to our family home. Um, and it's very interesting. I really feel that my room in particular in the house kind of acts as like a portal,
mhm,
where spirits come in and out. People who have like slept over, my parents have had experience, everybody has had an experience in that house. There's just something about it that is I don't know, it's like a portal. I mean, people have seen stuff in the backyard. People have seen stuff, mainly the most, probably the highest activity that happens in the house is probably in my childhood bedroom. Um and it's definitely, from what I understand, has calmed down over the years, but
mm,
I would definitely say it still has its own unique mark. And I mean, my dad actually even said too, like he's seen a woman, same thing, long dark hair, which is interesting because I actually think that it is a woman who
mhm.
appears as a little girl, because
Oh,
I think that she appears as a little girl to most people, and
mhm,
particularly to me at that time, because I was a child, and I feel that she didn't want to frighten me. So it was like, what better way to kind of show herself, to
mhm,
say, hey, I'm another little girl. But my dad actually saw the same imagery, but it was in a woman form.
mhm,
So I thought that that was really interesting. And he was like, he said he was downstairs watching TV and literally saw this person, like look like they were walking into the closet door. And he was like, what? And he like got up and everything. Yeah. And he got up and, he literally had asked my mom, and my mom
mhm,
was asleep upstairs, and she was like, just, like didn't even know anything was happening. And but they have heard, like my parents have had their bed shake. Um, and yeah, a lot of things have
no.
happened. Um, it was really weird. And my closet door in my bedroom, it would leak this like substance. And I joke around and I say, like, what if it was ectoplasm? And because it was very strange. There was no water leakage. My dad tested it, and it had the consistency of like olive oil. It
Hmm.
was so strange, and it would only leak in like certain spots, and it would leave particularly like three streaks. And it was happening for like a month, you know what I mean? And I'd go and
Mhm.
I'd wipe it, and then it was like a little bit more came down. But then nothing ever since. Like I've been back, the door's not oily, nothing. My dad checked it. He was like, I don't know where this would have even come from. So
Weird.
I just kind of wonder what that was. Um, so when I tried doing research, because it's like, even though I'm a very spiritual person, I also want to be very logical, and
Mhm.
I'm like, can wood do this? Like I'm like looking it up. I'm like trying to figure out, an explanation. But yeah, it was very strange. It didn't happen on any other doors in the house. Um, we've heard, knockings, voices. I've done
Mhm.
EVPs in the house. My dad has like also has like a little recorder and stuff, and he's caught things. So it's very, very active. And I wouldn't say that they're, like negative or
Mhm.
malevolent beings either. I just think that it's almost just as if it's like a passing, you know what I
Mm.
mean, where they come
Yeah.
in and passing. And yeah. And who knows, maybe that's from me opening the door when I had played the Ouija board when
Oh.
I was in middle school, because that's really when the activity really picked up.
Oh, really?
Um,
Wow.
yeah,
Mhm.
and it was just, that was a whole nother experience on its own. And I really feel like, my dad tried to warn me. He's like, that's not a toy. And I'm like, but it's from Toys R Us.
Hello. Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And but it's like, it probably, I mean, Ouija boards, they're not toys, number one,
Mm.
but at
Mhm.
the same time, knowing what I know now, and knowing that, about mediumship and all that, and being a medium myself, I'm like, "Ooh, I probably shouldn't have done that."
Yeah.
Like,
Lesson.
especially that young. So,
Mhm.
but yeah, but that's when the activity really ramped up. So
Oh, wow. Yeah, Ouija boards. Yeah, I was just going to ask you about what is your current opinion on Ouija boards?
On Ouija boards. Listen, I think that, you know, just like tarot cards, pendulums, dowsing rods, I think it's really important to be discerning and to call for protection, and to be ethical, when you're going into a practice like this. It's definitely not a game. But will I ever use a Ouija board again? I'm gonna say right now, no. Just because I don't, I don't really the thing about it, and I know that, for the other tools, you can say the same thing about like how it's kind of like a telephone and you don't
Yeah.
know what's going to up. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But there's something about the Ouija board that I just feel is a different form of communication and a bit more powerful. And a lot of the times, actually, a lot of physical mediums, for physical mediumship, they'll incorporate Ouija boards to try to get some form of like spirit appearing in the physical, having some form of evidence for that matter. So it's very interesting. But I definitely, yeah, I'm not really a fan. Are you? What about you?
No, I mean, I don't even know. I think we played with the Ouija board when I was like a teenager, like we all have. And you're like, whoa, that was kind of weird, like, like, but as an
This is the
adult,
Casual Temple
understanding
Podcast, and you're
probably the
listening
same
to episode number
perspective
6.
you do, like,
And I'm your
adult,
host, Merrily Duffy.
now you're
The
like
Casual
working with
Temple
spirits,
is a place to
you find
discuss
those,
the
like,
many
tricksy
ways we're
spirits,
connected to
right?
the unseen world
And they're
and how
really
that
good at
empowers us to know our
impersonating,
true
right?
selves. On the
So
Casual
it's like,
Temple, we will hear from everyday people discussing their magical
Like,
practices,
no.
psychic phenomena,
yeah,
energy
no.
healing, as well as
Yeah.
hear about their amazing,
So-
mystical, and paranormal
Yeah, okay.
experiences.
Yeah,
This week, my guest is
We're
Tiffany
in
Reeds,
agreement
who
on
joins
the
the
Ouija
podcast
board.
to talk about her
Same
journey
vibe
to
with
becoming
that,
an internationally renowned
Totally.
psychic medium and angelic channel. We dive into how her
Okay,
practice
so
assists
who
her
would you
clients,
say?
who her
So
favorite
that
mediums
was kind
are,
of like your
if the
earliest
Ouija board is a good psychic tool, and her experience with
and
the
can
angel
you
Lucifer.
kind of
Yes, that
describe
Lucifer, which
sort
you
of your
definitely
path
don't want to
into
miss.
like what you're doing now as far as like your spiritual path, or how has it looked a little?
So I had suffered from like anxiety, and I would get like these panic attacks when I was younger, or from what I thought were panic attacks, I should say. And like I would be in school, elementary school, middle school, even all the way up to high school, and I would kind of get very nervous. For no reason, I would get these feelings, and I like this sense of doom, something's going to happen. I would start freaking out. And then every time that would occur, we would either find out that, somebody that we knew had passed away, or like somebody would like have an accident, fall, anything like that. And I started to think like, oh my God, am I cursed? You know what I mean? Like, am I making things happen to these people? Because like, why is it associated every time? You're young, you don't understand. So I tried later on in my years to really try to shut that off. And it was just like, the doctors had put me on like medication and such for depression and anxiety. And that kind of like opened the door, I feel like, for me to try like other substances and like just really, I'll be honest, I didn't want to live. And I think it was because I felt so much and I didn't know how to interpret it. And I hated that I felt so much. And with friends, with relationships, I would always like have these intense experiences and emotions. And I realize now when I look back of how much of that really wasn't my own. You know what I mean? And it was bad, but basically, to make a long story short, I ended up having seizures from the medications that I was taking. Two of the medications didn't mix well, and I also had tried to stop the medications abruptly, and I didn't realize that my body had become physically addicted to it before my mind was mentally addicted to it. And so I was having these seizures, and it was completely unexpected and terrifying because I was fully conscious during the seizure, in the sense of like they weren't like the full blown like grand mal seizure. It was more so where literally like my body would kind of contort and I wouldn't be able to speak during it, but it would be like I was physically aware. It's the most terrifying feeling ever
Yeah.
from what I've experienced. And yeah, so it was like I was having these seizures. They were like, well, maybe she has epilepsy, and nobody in my family has epilepsy. So it was just kind of
Right.
like, where is this coming from? And I was like, my intuition was telling me, no, I think it's the medication. And I ended up um, in the time period a little bit before that, but then like occurring during that time, I was actually in contact with a psychic medium who later became my mentor on this journey. And she had told me that she didn't see the seizures as like a long-term health issue.
Mm.
She was like, this needed to happen to take you to like the next level. And you know, she had described, and she's like, you know, you are a medium and all that. And I'm like, there's no way, like what? But a lot of what she was saying, she would say, you know, does this happen, does this happen? And I'm like, yes, you know. And I'm like, finally
Mm.
someone that really gets me, you know. And so yeah, and basically, to make a long story short, I ended up like having a seizure. They did a multitude of tests, and I was like training also in opening, and I kind of like, you know, just was like trying to take care of my health and my body, becoming more conscious. And I, to hear the doctor in the hospital room say to my parents, you know, like, we're afraid that she's going to die.
Oh.
And because I was having so many seizures and they were very active in my sleep.
Mm.
And when you cycle and you have a multiple amount of seizures in a short period of time, there is that chance where, you know, somebody cannot come back from that. And it's a very scary feeling. And it was like that moment, I was like, no, I want to live. You know what I mean? I
Yeah.
want to do this. And so I made a lot of health adjustments, and I ended up having like a seizure back in like June. I want to say it was 2016. And it was like the doctors had told me everything. They're like, they couldn't figure it out because the seizures weren't showing up on the scans. They're like doing multiple tests, and they're like, this is strange. They even tried like pulling the seizure medication, all that, trying to trigger a seizure to happen. No other seizure had happened.
Mm.
And the doctor comes back in the room, and he looks at me and my mom, and he was like, and I'm like, oh gosh, like they're going to put me on more medication now. Like, what's going to happen? And no, he came in and was like, I don't know what to say. And I'm like, great. And he was like, no, your brain, compared to your first brain scan, your brain scan now, he was like, seizures tend to leave marks on the brain, like footprints in the snow.
Mm.
And he like, your brain looks perfectly healthy, as if nothing has ever happened to it. And oh, it like still gets me emotional.
Whoa.
Um, and I was just like, remember like looking at my mom in the hospital room, and I'm like, oh my God, like what? And he was like, I don't understand. I can't explain it. He was like, we
Mm.
tried triggering a seizure, we tried doing all these things. And like they did like 5 different stroke tests. Like they were, and nothing was showing up. It was
Wow.
crazy. And I was like, this is like, because I feel like God was on my side. I was like, I want to be able to live, and I want to share
Yeah.
my story, and I really want to utilize my emotions and my feelings and my sensitivities um, to my full capacity, so that I can be able to help people and
Mm.
help others who are struggling as well. Because I am a full believer now that um, a lot of people who experience panic attacks are really picking up, especially when they're like associated with like something happening, something occurring, because I feel like
Mm.
doctors these days can be so quick to throw you on medication without really having a kind of like an open mind to what's going on. And um, I feel like to be able to help people kind of like discern the difference and figure out like, hey, you know, I wonder if your experience is similar to mine, and if what you're feeling is really spirit energy trying to come through. Because now I have
Mm.
my whole thing where I still will get these episodes, I guess you can call them, but I call them the two world feeling.
Mm.
And I have done experiments on them. I worked with someone who had helped me also, kind of like every time that it would happen, he would go and he would help me kind of discern, like, well, what's coming up. So he would do little tests of like, like hold objects in his hand, and like hide them and say, like what color is it? What object is it? He would write things down on a piece of paper, not show me the paper, and I would be able to say what, exactly what I was seeing, all of that. And I've noticed too, spirit tends to come through. And the way that I can best describe this two world feeling is that it's as if all timelines are existing at the same time, like past, present, future, it's all in one timeline. And with that being said, it's like you can access a multitude of different information. And I feel like by utilizing the two world feeling and understanding it more, which is what I'm currently studying right now, and I'm talking to different clients of mine, and I'm asking them, especially my mentorship clients, and I'm like, well, what's it like when you have this? I want you to do this type of test when you get this episode, like it's a very particular subject that I'm very, very passionate about, because I feel like it happens to a lot of people. And it's something that needs to be, I guess, like more understood, so that people don't just think like, where is this anxiety coming from? Where is this panic coming from? Because I'm a full-blown believer that when you end up feeling anxiety, what anxiety is, it's unknown energy entering your energetic field that the mind has yet to translate, but the body is currently processing. So I really feel that when that energy comes in, it's unknown. It's, you know what I mean? It's unrecognizable when it's that random anxiety. Oof, why am I feeling this? And then somebody will have like, oh, something happened. You know what I mean? Or they get a phone call, and whether it be good news or, bad news, because it's like you can be able to kind of discern as well when you get to know your body on how your body processes the information. So like what I've learned is when I get that butterfly feeling that goes up into my chest, that's good news coming in. And when it sinks down into my stomach, it's not so great news. Um, so I've learned to kind of work, I guess, with these energies to better understand them. I feel like it's going to be a continuous learning process, but yeah, so that was kind of the experience. I know it kind of got sidetracked with that, but that was the experience. It was my seizures and my health, and kind of like that near death experience that really had catapulted me to get inspired, not only about this work. I was working with the other medium at the time, but also to just be inspired to live, because life is such a gift and it's so beautiful. And I feel that that's one thing that, spirit really brings forward, is to cherish everything and all that we have right here, right now. And I feel like it's easy to forget about that. So luckily I was able to be, taken off and weaned off all the medication that I was on. And I can honestly say that, like, I'm really happy to be able to be present and like feel all my emotions and work through them, and, and honor my gifts and my sensitivities, and understand when my energy is my own and when it's somebody else's.
Yeah.
So
Wow. Yeah, that's amazing. Oh my gosh.
thank you.
Yeah, there's so much there, but yeah, such a cool story.
Thank you. Yeah, it's summed up. It's like summed up
Yeah. Oh
into
yeah.
a box, but
Yeah.
yeah, as much as I could sum it up.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's I don't know. It's definitely shown me to be grateful
Yeah.
for everything. You know what I mean? Every day as it comes.
Yeah, for sure. Especially when you're like, having to stare at your doctor with like some terrible news, you're like,
Exactly.
ooh, yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah.
But
But,
you know what though? You know what's interesting is
mhm.
that the side of my brain that the seizures were happening on,
Mm.
were, so it's so fascinating. So it was occurring on like the more logical side. So
Mm.
because it was affecting the the right side of my body. And, like the brain, it's like the opposite.
Yeah.
And I say that I really do feel this. I feel that the seizures almost rewired me, because I feel like such a completely different person than how I was before, because I couldn't, like before it was like, this obsession with like death and wanting to die and being so fearless and just, but in an unhealthy way.
Right.
And now I feel like I'm like, wow, you know what I mean? Like, I don't even know how I was that person. I'm like, you know what I mean? I'm
Yeah.
just, but it's so different now.
Hmm.
So yeah, it's interesting to say the
Hmm.
least.
Yeah.
Um,
I really liked how you articulated so like how you said that it was like the two worlds feeling. That was really cool because I was like, yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
Yeah, it was great.
I've done some interviews as well with my guides to kind of
Hmm.
like try to better understand it. And it's definitely a learning process, but hopefully my goal is to eventually be able to, at least, whether I come out with a blog or a book about it or a video, something, but
Yeah.
to really be able to help people become aware of this, because when
Hmm.
it happens, I mean, it's intense. And it's I've learned that now too, because sometimes it's like, I've talked to other psychics, other mediums that this will happen to, and it's like, they'll kind of get stuck in that anxiety part of it, right? That
Yeah.
tends to be a theme, where it's like you'll get stuck in the anxiety, you get overwhelmed of like this energy coming in, this overwhelming feeling of like doom or uncertainty, and then it's just like that's it. But my goal is to help people expand beyond that, because
Hmm.
through what I've done for myself with this is that I now, when that feeling comes along, like, I mean, I literally tune in, I close my eyes and I go into like full channel mode, and I'll pull out like a piece of paper. I will, like, it's people have been with me at a restaurant, when I'm like, when I'll be like in the passenger seat of the car.
Right.
I've even been in the driver's seat and had to pull over, and I'm like, you have to drive. This is happening right now and I need to start going. And
Hmm.
it's really crazy, because I'll get, information on people's health. You know what I mean? And I'll be
Hmm.
like, I need to call this person because this is occurring and this is what I'm seeing. And it's so intense, this feeling, and the information can be so cut clear and concrete, where it's interesting. So when
Hmm.
people that, especially people I feel like that know me on a personal level, know that like when I'm like, I'm having my two world feeling, everyone just kind of like, you know
Oh
what I mean?
no.
They're like going, and they're like making sure that they find like a pen. Like, I've literally, my fiance tells me all the time now, he's like, do you keep like a pen and a paper in your car, because you need to?
Yeah.
Because
Right.
I literally will scramble and I'll start drawing on like any piece of paper or whatever that I can find. I'm like, it's crazy, but it's
Wow.
so important that when this happens, the way that I can describe it, it's kind of as if, so it's like, when you sit down in a mediumship session and we invite spirit in. I would like to say the two world feeling is when spirit calls you. You know
Mm,
what I mean?
yeah.
It's literally when spirit calls you.
Hmm.
So I'm really excited to dive more into that and kind of like slowly release more information about that, because it's a very interesting subject. And I
Yeah.
feel that a lot of psychics and mediums definitely they relate on, you know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's interesting. What about you? Have you had like that
Hmm.
two world experience?
I would say, well, here's the thing. So apparently, um, I think I have too much protection personally, is what the feedback I've gotten, right?
Okay.
So when I reach out, right, and then it's like, and then I get information, right? But then it will hit me, but it's usually when I'm talking to somebody, and then I start getting like information as I'm talking to them. I don't know.
Okay, no, that makes sense.
Yeah. And then I'm like, okay. And then I'm like, okay. Well, um, but
Like, what am I supposed to do with this?
yeah, what do I do? It's as usual. Mostly it's around actually, it's usually in situations because I have social anxiety. to an extent. So it's usually in situations where they're telling me like, this person's like this person's like that. And they're telling me sort of like how they are as a person. That way I can like,
That's good.
yeah.
Yeah. I trust me. I feel like I struggle with that too. Like social anxiety, I feel like, especially for like sensitives, empaths, you know,
Mm-hmm.
I feel like we really pick up on information. Like
Yeah.
I tend to like when I go to a place and stuff, especially if I'm a little bit unfamiliar, like I'll come off as really shy
Yeah.
and then you'll see me like blossom and open up. And it's
Same.
because yeah, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
because we observe the energy first.
Mm-hmm.
And then it's like we find who or whatever it is that makes us feel comfortable, and then we can open up. You know
Yes,
what I mean? So
totally.
yeah, I feel like it's a mix of like being sensitive, but
Uh,
hashtag like also trauma.
yeah, right. Oh, yeah. A little bit of that. Yeah,
But
for sure.
you know what I mean? So,
Yeah.
but yeah, no, that's really neat though that you're
Mhm.
able to kind of like pinpoint as well.
Yeah, so I think my next stage in my own development is sort of working on a little bit of the blocks that I have. And they're blocks of like protection. Like there are protections like I had put up, like I
But
consciously put up, and everybody, like all the psychics, like my psychic friends that read me, they're like, you have a little too much protection up. You're a little too grounded. And I'm like, oh, like,
like, is it the information that you feel like you've consumed and kind of like I guess,
yeah.
has shielded yourself almost, you know, because I believe that our guides kind of
Mhm.
they restrict us. If we have fear in a certain area, I feel like they'll have a different way of bringing information forward so that we don't like, ugh, you know what
Oh
I mean?
yeah. Well, I already told them, I was like, look, I do not show me anything. Do not show yourself in my physical eyes. I don't want to see that. I'm happy hearing you. Do not, do not. I will freak out. Um, so it's kind of that level. But now, like recently, I've been like, okay, look, like a little bit here and there, I can handle it. So I'm mainly just seeing like a lot of lights and stuff like that showing up.
Oh, awesome.
Yeah.
Very cool. Like the orbs and stuff.
Yeah,
That's
the orbs and like even like weirdly shaped lights. I saw like a golden flame when I was like meditating once, and I looked over and I was like, and I was like meditating, right? So I was kind of in a trance. I was like, oh, there's just like a golden flame like hanging out or whatever, you know.
yeah, it's
So it was pretty,
awesome though, because I
yeah,
feel
it's pretty
like
cool.
things when they appear, when you're like in that mode and just something appears right in front of your eyes,
Yeah.
it's really like it leaves like a very vivid memory as well. You
Yeah,
know what I
for
mean?
sure.
Like, I will not forget that.
Nope. Yeah, very cool. Um, so I think we touched a little bit on sort of your role models, at least your psychic, you had a psychic mentor, but if you wanted to talk a little bit about them or any other role models that you may have had on your journey.
So she was absolutely incredible. And just a beautiful person inside and out. And I really feel like she believed in me so much. And just it was I really am so grateful for her in so many ways. I would say her name, but I don't know if like I haven't asked her about this, so I was like, you know what I mean? But she's really cool and just a overall beautiful person, and I'm so thankful for her. I mean, she had taught me really to utilize my psychic abilities first, and how your psychic abilities then will help you really be able to grasp the art of mediumship. And then she also had told me about energy work, you know what I mean? And kind of led me to the chakras. And, you know, I had experienced my first sound healing because of her, which is incredible with like the quartz crystal bowls and the gongs. And it's such a beautiful experience to see how many different healing modalities that there are. So I definitely feel that yeah, it was incredible. And actually speaking of working with her, every time that we were together, it was so funny because she would always just kind of like look over or like make faces, because I don't know what it was, but when we would sit down and like work together, and I would go to her house, things would move. Things would like I remember a book fell off in the book, and she was just like, literally, it was. I'm like, I don't know, you know, and it was very intense, I would
Mhm.
say. And I remember then when we had started working with like, she had me working with like other women in development circles and stuff. And like the stuff that I was able to see and everything, like like with my physical eyes in the room, and like I started describing and she was describing the same thing. It was just like we really connected, because I really do feel that when you're in a group and you're in a room with psychics and mediums and stuff, that energy amplifies, you know what I mean? And it's just like one big power cord to the spirit world. And it was just, it's so incredible. So yeah, so she is absolutely amazing. I will always hold her near and dear to my heart. And I'm so incredibly thankful and grateful for her, just opening this door for me, because I can honestly tell you that couldn't, you know, it's not like I grew up and was like, I want to be a psychic medium.
I know, right?
No, I mean, I always knew that I wanted to help people,
Mhm.
but and then like make an impact on their lives in some way. And as weird as it sounds, I used to always tell my mom, like, I feel like I want to be able to share an important message to people and help them on their journey. And it's so funny because a mediumship is really just that. It's sharing messages from the spirit dimensions and being able to help people heal, you
Yeah.
know? So it's very interesting how like I had one plan, but God had another.
Like, ha ha ha. Yeah.
So yeah.
Wow.
But then for like my other models though, I would definitely say like, I know probably people will be like, oh my God, but I love the Long Island medium, Teresa
Oh,
Caputo.
okay, cool. Yeah.
I've seen her live. She's incredible.
Mm.
And it was so validating.
Right.
She had at the time read the person that I was with, and it was so incredible. Just she's really is the real deal. I know that, you know, like TV and all that, but
Yeah.
she's extremely talented and for sure is a real deal medium.
Yeah.
I also love like John Holland and Tyler Henry. I think that they're, you know, it's I have so many.
Yeah, I know, like this one, this.
Yeah, but because I feel like everybody, like Cindy Kaza, I love her
Mhm.
as well. I feel like everybody has their own way. Oh, and Michelle Belanger, if you don't know,
Oh, yes.
oh
Yeah. Yeah, yeah.
she she hands down is probably like, oh, I love Michelle. I think that she is so cool. I'm like, oh my gosh, I will totally fangirl over Michelle any day. Literally, like I'm like, wow, because the information and the way that she communicates and reads, oh my gosh, and on the show Portals to Hell, I'm like, wow,
Mhm.
like she's just incredible, an incredible medium.
Yeah.
Seriously. Yeah.
Yeah. Now I have some new shows to watch. Like, because I did definitely watch Tyler Henry's show, which is pretty amazing.
What?
Um, but I will say, I did find on YouTube, I guess he had like a contest where you could win like a reading with Tyler, but they
Mhm.
filmed the whole thing, right? Which was interesting. Because of course on the TV show they're going to cut out the parts where you're like sitting there waiting, or
Exactly.
you
Because
know.
that's real mediumship is
Yes.
there's pauses.
Yes.
There's those awkward
Yes,
pauses.
where you're like, hold on. Yeah. But it was really cool to see, like, they didn't break or anything. They just filmed the whole thing. So he's like doing the awkward pauses. He's like kind of like trying to like gather, he's like, I gotta gather the information. He's right, trying to, he's like, oh, hold on. Like I just got a bucket of information. I gotta like, so it was kind
Gotta
of cool just seeing
out.
that process. Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's incredible. He's really incredible. I'll have to see it. Is that you said that's on YouTube
It's on
or?
YouTube. Yeah, it was something where a lady had won they were doing like a contest for a reading, and it's like an hour long because he does like an hour, but it was pretty good. And then you could kind of tell, because sometimes you get the information and it's not hitting, right? Like it's not
Yeah.
hitting, and then she was like, no, no, he's like, no, this is for you or somebody near you because it's,
Yeah.
yeah.
And that's the thing that I always tell people. Like
Yeah.
I tell my students, I tell even people that are like sitting in front of me during the
Yeah.
sessions, I'm like, I'm not afraid of no. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Like I'm not afraid of hearing no,
Yeah.
or I can't think of this. I'm not afraid of that, because the majority of the time it's either like I'm translating it wrong, you know what
Right.
I mean?
Yeah.
Or it's not clicking with them just yet, because I can't tell you how many times too I've had people be like, no, this is just not resonating. I'm not sure. And then literally I'll get an email. I spoke to this person and they said what, you know what I mean? And it's just like, there it is. There it is.
Yeah.
Or literally like during the session, as the session goes on, because I'm very much like, I don't like to get stuck on it. So
Yeah,
I'm like,
yeah,
okay,
yeah.
we're going to move. And so I let spirit know, I let the person know, like, we're going to move on to the next thing. And then all of a sudden, there it is again. Spirit will bring through something else that links to that. And then boom, it clicks with them right there. And they're like, oh my God. And I really think like John Edward talks about this, how people kind of get this like almost like it's like a spirit brain where they kind of like blank out during sessions. Like they're like, wait, and then it'll be like the most obvious thing, and they're like, I don't know why. Oh my God, I just thought of this right now. Like it clicks, but I think it's just because it's like, I don't know if it's like the haze of the energy that comes over, but how the frequency is so high when you're in that state that maybe it's like, and it's also, I mean, it's like also probably like overwhelming and like a little bit of like anxiety inducing for them.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
you know, but yeah, I'll have to check out Tyler's, because I love him. I think he's incredible, and the
Yeah.
way that he just channels information, and he's so intelligent and articulate with the way that he describes mediumship.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh, really incredible.
Yeah.
So both him and Michelle, I'm telling you, they're like, the way that they are able to just put it into like terms, actual terms that are understandable are incredible. They just end up finding the words for it. So I love that.
Yeah. That's so cool. Yeah. Well, yeah, now I have to yeah, check out some more Michelle Bollinger.
And now I need to check out.
Yeah. Oh man. So so my next question was, how did you learn to be a psychic medium? But I think we pretty much covered that with your mentor. But I am curious about like and how you came to do angelic channeling and how that came about.
So that definitely took me by surprise as well.
Mm-hmm.
I used to get this visual, like early on in my journey of like whenever I would get upset or feel scared, I would like get this visual of big, beautiful wings wrapping me and kind of like covering me. It was just like such a particular visual. Time went on and I didn't really think anything of it. And then I started to have like experiences where like I had like an Archangel Michael card in my mirror when I was, first working with my very first mentor. And like it had fallen off and hit me in the face. And I'm like, what?
Thanks.
I'm like, what's that? And I'm like, oh. But then it was strange because then later that day I ended up going to see my mentor, and then she gave me an Archangel Michael Oracle deck. And then I'm like, okay, I see you, Michael. I
Yeah.
see you. So he was probably one of the first archangels that I ended up working with. And then like later on, so during my healing sessions, I realized that like very clearly, because angels communicate differently than like human spirits. They're very clear with their communication. It can be literal full sentences. You know what I mean? They're very easy to give out their name as well, I've noticed. So I started getting a bunch of different like names and like the connections of like, whatever a person was going through. I would like get this, like this is an archangel, blah, blah, blah. You know what I mean? And then I would literally go in and give a message to a person, and later on I'm like, I'm gonna do more research, and then realize that a lot of people who had wrote about the archangels and like the different ones and stuff, that they correlated with the same healing messages that I would give people. So I'm like, oh my gosh, this is interesting.
Yeah.
But my very first, I think, experience with actually seeing an angel was I was praying the rosary, and I'm just like in bed, I'm in that deep meditation, and I don't know, there's something about like the rosary that really kind of puts me in a trance state. And all of a sudden I see this six-winged being, right in front of me with like, it was like layers of golden and white light. And I just remember it having 6 wings. And I'm like, what is that? Like, I'm trying to articulate that. I had no idea because I had no prior information other than like Archangel Michael. I think that was the only angel that I was really familiar with, and
Mhm.
maybe Gabriel. But other than that, I was like, I wasn't really familiar with like the angelics and the work that they do. But I had seen this being. So the person that I was with at the time was telling me, they're like, oh, that's the seraphim. And I was like, what's the seraphim? And they're like, oh, it's the highest form of angel. And so we had like looked up pictures and all that. And I'm like, this is actually really crazy. Because they're like the highest, I guess you could say, like of the hierarchy of angels, they're like the
Mhm.
highest level of angel. That's the closest to God. And what I found was very interesting was how it coincided with like I was also praying the rosary and like dedicating that time to, prayer and to meditation and such. And I was like, wow, that's really incredible. So yeah, so that had happened. And then it was just like, during my healing sessions, I would like bring forth an angel. And then my clients would say, like, oh my God, this is so crazy. This angel came through it.
Yep. That's right.
And I for that from firsthand. So
Mhm.
it's yeah, and it's crazy when that happens, because it's just like when you go and you're putting those intentions out there, you're asking or the angel for assistance, you're working with that angel, and then for that angel to come through, I feel like is like it's really mind-blowing.
Mhm.
And definitely, so then yeah, I was like, all right, we're gonna do this. And interestingly enough, I feel that in my healing sessions, my energy healing sessions, I feel like they're very like they keep and continue to evolve over time. With the more experience and such that I get. And I definitely feel that when the angelics come in for a healing, it is so intense. I feel like I receive a healing also myself,
Mhm.
a very intense version of the healing. Because it's like, when every time like you do a healing session, I do believe that the practitioner also receives a healing. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because really what you're doing is you're help facilitating the other person to kind of help heal their own energy. But the angelics take that to a whole nother level where I feel like they come in just like extraterrestrials. Also, ETs are really beautiful beings to work with, and they perform profound healings as well. I've had them come into my sessions, and it's just like the different energies and levels of healing that they bring forward, and the feelings like where I mean, when people who aren't even that spiritual are opening their eyes during the session because they feel the presence of somebody
Mm.
else in the room,
Yeah.
that's like, whoa, there's a lot of energy that's happening. Because I have had, especially in my in-person sessions, my clients will tell me, like they'll be like, I felt you on my right side, but then when I opened my eyes, you were all the way up here by my shoulder on my left side. And it was like, but I could have sworn you were touching my right thigh. And that's when I tell them, because they're like, and some of them are even afraid to tell me because they'll feel like they sound crazy. And they're like, I'm going to sound really crazy right now. And I'm like, can I just tell you that this is not crazy and this happens so often? I'm like, a lot of people experience this. And I really feel that it's their guides, it's the spirit team, it's the angelics, it's the ETs who come in and really help facilitate that healing as well and help channel the energy. And with the angelics, I have learned, and ETs, different, like, I have like my own symbols that I've gotten from the angelics that I've created that, like, I'll know which direction to put them in, what they mean. It's very different. So it's a very different way of healing, and definitely has opened my eyes to how, I guess, these beings work essentially. But yeah, I would definitely say that with their help in channeling energy in general, it just takes the healings to a more profound level. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, angels. I think we talked about angels in a session, but or my approach to angels, because I was like, you know, because I started this practice, my practices, and I was like, I don't know about angels. They sound a little bit fluffy and kind of lame, right? Like that was like how I would. And then, you know, start, and then you just, I don't know, at least the practices that I do on my own spiritual practices, they start coming in. And then I'm
Yeah.
like, what is that? Right? Like,
They're
what is
very
that?
and they
Yeah.
all feel different.
Yeah.
Like now, it's like when you familiarize yourself with the energies of the different angels, it's
Hmm.
like I conducted a workshop, the other day, and so strongly, immediately, right before it started, it was like 20 minutes before the workshop started, boom, there he was, Archangel Gabriel. You know what I mean? To help facilitate this
Wow.
healing. Wow. And I feel like when you begin working with them, you kind of build your own perception of how they appear to you, which
Hmm.
I think is like very important. So I feel that, each angel and each type of angel, because I've had different angels, like the Ophim have also appeared. That's one I get a lot as well. Where it's literally like with the wheel, the spinning
Hmm.
bunch of eyes. I have that drawn so many times in my notebook. But they're really powerful messengers as well. And they usually intervene. Ironically, I actually see them quite frequently in the two world feeling. That's when I
Mm.
see that particular angel come through. Those and the seraphim come through very strongly during those feelings. But yeah, it's the angels definitely. I know. I felt the same way. I was like, I
I
don't know. Just
don't
like
know.
fairies.
Oh,
Fairies,
yeah. Same.
like, you don't, nope. I literally have encountered fairies with people, their guides, and fairies are also very like, they'll give the name. Fairies very much are like, they'll tell you their name, you know what I mean? And I will never forget one session in particular where a fairy had given her name to this client. And it was actually, oddly enough, it was a name that came through, and in another language, it meant little winged spirit. And I was like,
No way.
what? Swear we were going crazy. I was like, wait a second. I was like, because I get a lot of names, and I get a lot of I don't know about you, but I get stuff in like different languages. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? Like I've gotten stuff in Arabic, Latin, Hebrew, Sanskrit, where it just like will be like words or phrases that will literally, even names that'll come through. And I'm like, whoa, like that really resonates. That makes sense. So when we had got that, I remember it was so crazy, especially because um the way that it came off was actually, this is good because I have like two stories with this. And it was just like the way that this being came off was like I started like seeing this little fairy around her and all that, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I'm like, she was very connected with the fairy realm, when she was little. And I remember kind of like being a little bit skeptical myself, but when the name came forward and I was like, I'm like, all right.
The real. Yeah.
And I thought that I knew. I don't.
Right.
So, it was very interesting too, because this is going to take another turn on angels as well.
Hmm.
So, okay. So we all know Lucifer.
Hmm.
Um, and I feel that the energy of Lucifer is highly misunderstood. Um, I know a lot of people are probably gonna like come at me with but like hear me out.
Yeah.
So she had connected with Lucifer. But because you've had my distance sessions,
Mhm.
we don't we talk for a brief moment, and then I do my thing, and then I come back and we kind of like debrief.
Yeah.
So I kept getting the angel come in and wanted to be called Lucy. And I'm like, Lucy. And I'm like, oh my gosh. And then it was like short for Lucifer. And then it was like definitely Lucifer. And at this point, I'm like calling on Michael, and I'm like, is this all right? Like, I'm like, what's happening? And it was so interesting because so when I ended up debriefing with the client, turns out that she connected with him, and she would nickname him Lucy, which is why he came through as Lucy.
Right.
Interesting though is that then she was like, is it safe, to work? I know there's like a lot of, kind of like it's like taboo basically to really be able to, and there's controversy around, the angel Lucifer.
Mm-hmm.
And, Michael came in with a very strong message about how Lucifer is essentially like transcending into back to being a light being, because Lucifer is originally an archangel, right?
Yep.
He's a light being. And it was very interesting the way that Michael had come in with his message about how, like, no, it's safe. Now, does that mean that Lucifer gets along with all the archangels? You know what I mean? But the fact that Michael was coming through and kind of
Mm-hmm.
like letting it know that like it's okay, you know what I
Yeah.
mean? And it's okay for her to not feel shame for wanting to work with him or working with him in the past. And he really brought a greater understanding into which, it's like there's so much misconception about like Lucifer, and like Lucifer is different than Satan.
Mm-hmm.
Satan
Yeah.
is a different energy. And I feel like sometimes people can mix the two.
Mm-hmm.
But Lucifer is actually has done so much work, you know what I mean, throughout the years, and also time and spirit, which is, just infinite. And to where he has really been able to redeem himself and kind of like
Mm.
come back into the angelic kingdom, so you can say. Um, and I found that that was very interesting. And what's interesting, even more interesting about that, is that you can also utilize use of Lucifer in exorcisms to help you understand lower level beings, which
Mm.
is very powerful. That was another message that Michael had brought through. And I was like, very interesting, because of the depths that Lucifer can understand the duality between both.
Right.
So it was very fascinating, to say the least. So yeah, I know.
That's so cool. Oh my gosh. That's so cool.
So the angelics are something else. They
Yeah.
are really something else. Um, so yeah, it's incredible. I love working with them. I think that their presence in general, you know what I mean? It's
Mm-hmm.
it's so different. It feels like a warm hug. They'll send you goosebumps. You'll get those spirit chills, and it's so different. And I feel like it's healing on like so many different levels. I feel like when
Mm-hmm.
the angels come through and they channel and they speak, and when they work on a person, it's like literally as if the different layers of the energy body are being, simultaneously healed at once. It's
Right.
not just a emotional body or mental. It's like it's all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And to be like transformed into the next level, essentially. So I don't know. That's what I've learned with
Oh
Angelic
my
Channel.
gosh. That's so cool. Thank you for sharing the Lucifer story, because like it's kind of like, in a way, right? Like he's kind of human, and like, or at least he kind of understands human stuff, right? If he's going,
Absolutely.
ugh,
Absolutely. He's able to kind of be, like you said, I mean, be more relatable. You
yeah,
know what I mean? Because essentially, like when you go into the subject of like demons and the lower level energies, um, they kind of work more on the materialistic realm. You know
right.
what I mean? And I feel like they understand the material realm a bit more.
Yes.
Um, so, but it's fascinating too, because they themselves can also be great teachers, of of literally anything, you know what I mean? From
Hmm.
um something like, wanting to die, you know what I mean?
Right.
Or anything like that, where you experience those deep pains. Because I will say, like I definitely had my moments when I was being completely reckless and doing, just not taking care of my body. Where I know for a fact, like I have seen things that were, not so pretty.
Right.
Um, and when you feel and you get a sense of those energies around, you're like, oh, you know what I mean? And I definitely feel that, you know, anything that is, I hate the term like high vibe, low vibe, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm to put it together, but I feel like anything like that, that's some kind of like lower vibrational, is like doorways, for them to kind of come in, like you open,
Yes.
and so it's just, but at the same time, I do feel that, they're able to kind of understand us on a more human level. It's just,
Totally.
it's comes with a price for,
Oh my
like,
God, such good insight on that. I love it. So cool. I can't remember. Not I can't remember if I shared I know we talked about Archangel Metatron in our sessions together because he's kind of always around me, but I don't know if I told you about the feather story. I just want to tell it real quick.
yeah, tell it. No.
It's so good. Okay. So I was, I've been working with Archangel Metatron for a while, and I was at the gym and I was like on the elliptical and I was like listening to a podcast, right? And it was like one where it was a medium and she was uh, talking about how she'll like ask for an angel feather, right, to appear. And she had the like amazing story of like, she was like, what, telling her daughter, like, I can ask angels to send me a feather and they'll send it. And she's like, whatever, mom. And she's like, watch. And she slams her hand on the table and she lifts it up. There's a feather on the table, right? And I was like,
What?
that's so cool. And I was like, and I'm like on the elliptical, Archangel Metatron, we've been working together for quite a while. I was like, I never got a feather from you. Like, can I have a feather? I was like elliptical. Anyway, yeah. And so I'm heading, I'm done with the gym and I'm getting into my car. But and I had to back out of the space I was in. And so I look into my rear view mirror and tucked in, no kidding, because there's like a little tiny windshield wiper in the back of my car. Tucked between the windshield wiper and the glass was a white feather. No joke.
She's like, there's your feather,
He's
girl.
like, there's your feather. And I was like, what? I was like freaking out in the car. 20 minutes later.
Incredible.
Yeah.
Oh my God. I can't believe I would have loved to see your face. Like, just like,
Like, what you've got? And I was like, for 5 minutes, I was like, and I didn't even think to take a picture. Not that that would make a difference because somebody be like, you just took the feather and put it there. And I was like, look,
girl memory though. I feel like it would have,
yeah,
you know. So I'm crazy like that. I'll keep the feathers. I actually
kept the feather.
speaking of Lucifer, the day that happened, I had went outside. I took my dogs on a walk, and I found a big black feather, and I
Whoa.
thought that was almost as if like a thank you. You know what I mean? Like acknowledging him and also honoring that he's not some like demonized type of being that I feel like, people tend to associate him with. So
Yeah.
it's interesting, like the way that like the angels work, and they'll just gift you things. It's
Mm-hmm.
crazy. It's literally like ask and you shall receive.
Yeah, for sure.
That's incredible though.
Yes.
Wow. You'll have to send me that podcast that you were listening to.
Oh
'Cause
yeah, I'll have to find it. It's really weird. Yeah.
that's
Oh man. So I know we're sort of wrapping up to an extent here, but what do you want to share about how you enjoy working with your clients the most? Like what do you like doing the most? What do what's your favorite thing?
Oh my goodness. I don't know. I probably favor mediumship a lot. I love when spirit comes in, and I love being able to be a channel. Um, but yeah, I think that just it's like the experiences that people have. So I wouldn't even say like it's like necessarily what I do, but more so what spirit does that kind of like blows my mind a bit. I know we were talking about prior before about like having certain instances that come up in in mediumship, especially
Mm-hmm.
where there's these just unexplainable occurrences. So it was just like, for example, I was sitting down with a woman, and like towards the end of the session, I'm like asking her, I'm like, okay, do you have any other questions? And she wanted to ask her husband something. And literally okay, so I have like a speaker that plugs into the wall, you know what I mean? It's kind of like old school.
Mm-hmm.
But then I was using my phone to, put the Bluetooth with Spotify. And the music gets interrupted. Now, there were two other women with, sitting down in this mediumship session. The music gets interrupted, and she's like, shh, hello, shh. And we just were like, Oh my God. And they were like, does this normally happen? I was like, we were all like so surprised, shocked, spooked. And she was like, I really thought that somebody was going to come through that speaker and just start speaking. And it's so incredible because you have to think too, like spirit boxes, but it's like, I don't know how it was able to manipulate something like Spotify. You know what I mean? And all didn't have music on with words. It was meditation music. So it was just like, birds and like nature sounds stuff and like nothing, no people, no person talking, nothing. And then I had another instance recently where I had given a mediumship reading, and it was kind of like an unexpected one. And we were sitting down at the table, and the spirit was coming through the messages, all that. And I had brought up this woman, like her birthday. And I was like, I don't know why. I was like, I keep hearing happy birthday over and over and over again. And I said, were you alone on your birthday? And, and she was saying yes. And I was like, because like spirit shows me this symbolism. And I was like, and your mother really wants to come forward and just acknowledge, that she was with you during this time. And basically just wanted to really give her that like happy birthday, right? And I kid you not, I mean, literally, we were all shocked because it was like, we were at like a little bit of an outing and everything, so there were people, and about 20 minutes later, no, not even 20 minutes, I would say 10 minutes later, all of a sudden, the people behind us start singing happy birthday.
What?
And she was like, and everyone just stopped at the table and they were like, do you hear this right now? And the table behind us was singing happy birthday.
Wow.
And it was crazy, crazy, because it you know what I mean? It's like, number one, nobody heard or knew that it was somebody's birthday. So it was so random. And then it was just like, it was such a crazy experience. It was mind blowing. So she then had got up, and she had asked the person, she was like, whose birthday was it? And the lady was like, it's mine. She was like, I hope you had a very happy birthday. And she was like, I did. But it was just like, because spirit tends to do that, they'll piggyback things. But I just thought about how incredible it was that her mother was coming forward to acknowledge her birthday, to acknowledge that she felt alone, but then also to have that happy birthday song that was like, I keep hearing the happy birthday song literally come forward.
Wow.
So it was wow. Like, I mean, spirit, I mean, it never ceases to amaze me. So I would say experiences like that where people actually have legitimate encounters, where it's just like, that was really weird. And like, you can really feel like, it's almost as if those type of sessions really help you, like really bring you closer to the spirit world in more ways. And I think that that in general is just, it's profound. You know what I mean? It's huge. And especially too, when there's like weird light situations that happen. I mean, like I've my poor clients have definitely experienced quite a bit. So, but yeah, it's really beautiful. So that's probably my favorite part. My favorite part is seeing them transform and just be able to heal and get it out and be heard and seen, and just to feel that profound love from the spirit world and from me as well, and from our hearts to kind of connect. That's my biggest just part of about being on this journey as a healer and a medium. So yeah.
Great. Great stories. Oh my gosh, I'm sure you have like so many.
Oh my gosh, I know we didn't even get to cover the paranormal investigation.
I know. Yeah.
I'm like, oh man, because that's a story for
Yeah, I
sure.
bet. Maybe next time if you're wanting to talk about that, that'd be cool. So I know like recently I saw on your Instagram, which I follow, that you have some workshops that have come out. I was really like wanting to take the Divine Feminine one, but I was like, dang it, like my schedule right now, I couldn't work it out. So I hope you do it again, maybe.
It got really positive feedback. So there's definitely a chance. I'm
Okay.
doing one in person that's coming up on August 26th, which I'm really excited about.
Cool.
But yeah, it was so incredible. And what was interesting was that this workshop had a theme going. And the theme was for sexual assault and rape victims. And or what I like to call even survivors. And it was such a profound healing space I feel for these women to be able, like, I really didn't do much talking. I kind of let them just speak with each other, share with each other, and just to be able to have them feel a sense of, feeling seen, feeling heard, feeling validated and loved, and just the warmth of that like sisterhood, I feel like is so important because it's very rare that you can encounter that. And
Mm-hmm.
so it was such a beautiful experience. And I definitely feel like this other one coming up is going to have a different theme to it
Mm-hmm.
um, as well. And it's so different. So yeah, so the workshops have definitely been a very exciting subject for me. I'm currently in the works of hopefully launching a psychic ability one
Ooh, fun.
in fall. So yeah, so I'm excited for that, and I'll probably do both the in person and distance, depending on like I guess like how I feel that it should be done. I mean, it probably could even be done over distance, like all of it, but
Mm-hmm.
yeah, but this was it was wonderful. And then like the woman at the very end of the workshop, I did like a Reiki energetic healing. I also called in a lot of the angels, and that's what I was saying too, is like I even experienced a profound healing myself that day. And it was just, and to hear their messages and like to hear everybody how they felt afterwards, and like I feel tingly, I feel a little bit like high.
Yeah.
I'm like, yeah, that's the high vibrational energies that are like coming in and assisting you. And so yeah, it was really beautiful. So I hope next time definitely I can have you at one of my workshops. It was
Yeah.
fun.
That'd be cool. Yes. I was really regretful that I couldn't make that one. Um, but so is there, so we're just kind of, again, sort of now wrapping up again, but is there any sort of, I say mantra or motto, words of wisdom that you kind of go by that kind of you think about often or gets you through the day that you like to
Um,
share?
I would probably, I mean, the one that sticks out the most is probably the one that's like literally on my website. That's the brighter the light, the darker the shadow. And
Mm-hmm.
I do feel that people that have this, they have such dark shadow parts of them that are like waiting to be acknowledged, I feel like are literally um, just these beings of beautiful, bright light. And I really feel that when you acknowledge those parts of you and you shine the light and you do the work, like you can just shine so incredibly bright. So yeah, so it's just I feel like that itself has been like one that really stuck with me because it's so true. I feel like the most beautiful profound healers, mediums, psychic, sensitives, people in general that I've met have gone through and have had like a lot of trauma, a lot of dark past, and
Mm-hmm.
able to come out of that and to shine, and then also to see that darkness with others and to be able to see their capacity of the light. I think that's really important too. So yeah, so that's what I would say is my mantra.
Cool. I love it. It's a great one for sure. So what is, I know we talked about your workshops, but is there anything else that you wanted to share about the work you're doing?
Other than like I would say delving more into like the two world feeling, I kind of let spirit drive me wherever I need to go. But I feel that channeling and mediumship is definitely has been like very big um on the scene for me. And then I guess just like working to build my business up more like in person
Mm-hmm.
is a really big thing that I'm working on right now. But other than that, I would say just learning, learning from spirit, learning from all of that, from just being able to because I feel like every client, every person that you connect with, just like every being, is different,
Mhm.
and they have um, lessons, energy, anything like that to offer. I feel like actually speaking on that,
Mhm.
I feel like probably opening up more and
Mm.
like literally like actually speaking more and really getting the message out there unapologetically, and also like expressing my vulnerability more. So maybe that's even why my throat was like going out a little bit,
Oh.
other than it being dry. But what a perfect time. So,
Yes,
but
exactly.
yeah, so I would definitely say like, putting myself out there and just being me.
Yeah, cool. All good things to do for sure. So what contact information you would like to share with the audience?
So definitely my Instagram, which is at Tiff Reeds, or my website, which is innerworkingsofthesoul.com. And that's where you can, contact me. You can get my email. If you want to book a session, I got blogs on there. So
They're really good. That's how I found you, actually.
thank you.
Yeah,
Yeah, it was I know I need to get back on my blog game. I feel like I've been slacking, but
it's hard writing. That's all. I'll say that.
it is. It
Yeah.
is. I just feel like it's just trying to I feel like I get overwhelmed because I feel like I'll start writing about one thing and then spirit will bring in a new information and then I'm like, you know what I mean? I get distracted with that. I'm like
Yeah, totally.
I get the spirit
Yeah,
ADHD
exactly.
actually.
Yeah.
So, but
Okay.
yeah.
Well, thank you so much, Tiffany. It's always fun, always a pleasure when I get to sit down with you in any form. It's wonderful. So thank you so much for being my guest.
Likewise. Thank you so much.
That was an interview with Tiffany Reeds, where we learned about her journey to becoming a psychic medium and angelic channel. Please see the show notes on how to find Tiffany's website and Instagram to learn more about the wonderful ways she helps her clients and any future workshops she will put together. To learn more about the Casual Temple podcast, please visit casualtemple.com. There's a Casual Temple YouTube channel, so please like, share, and subscribe and click the notification bell. New episodes will be released every Wednesday. Please be sure to leave a review and share this episode with the people in your life who enjoy this content. Do check out the other episodes of the Casual Temple podcast on your preferred podcast app, and thank you so much for listening.